people spend a lot of their time at work. When you look at over the course of their life, a huge percentage of it is spent at work, working for a paycheck so they can do the things they want to do and buy the things they want to buy. If they're miserable in their job, they're going to ultimately be miserable in their life for the most part, and nobody wants that. But for the employer, it's great to have a great place to work because it helps with employee retention. You don't have to, every time somebody leaves and somebody new comes on, you've got to start the training process over again and so on. And that really affects productivity and everything else. So for the employer, it's great because you get the best people and you keep the best people. And for the customers, it's also great because if they're being if the customer is working with happy employees, they're ultimately going to deliver a better experience for the customer as well. So I think it's multifaceted. The benefits is all around.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we talk about creating a best place to work. Why would you even want to be considered a best place to work? And do awards matter? In my opinion, the awards are kind of a side benefit to this. The real benefit of a best place to work is the employees that feel engaged, feel connected to the work, are willing to drive the business forward, even in headwinds. And it actually benefits the company because retention's higher, performance is higher. It also benefits the customers. If you really care about customers, create a best place to work because those customers would love to take care, or those employees would love to take care of the customers. That's what I was trying to say. Our special guest today is the CEO and founder of Firefly Solar. It's Aaron Davis. Aaron and I talk about a best place to work. We talk about the key elements of it. We talk about why it's such an important piece in today's world where employees are, hopping around and doing different things. And the main benefit behind this is retention. And when you have a retention of your best customers or your best employees, retention of your best employees will really give you higher level of performance, higher level of efficiency, better service with your customers, better bottom line, all of the things. We talk about it and unpack it in our episode today. So tune in for creating a best place to work. And I really enjoyed this conversation with Aaron. Before we run into that, my name is Gene Hammett. I am an executive coach. We do cultural transformations. We do executive coaching, and we do it in two different ways. One from top level, the CEOs and CXOs we coach, but we also work with managers. We help them become stronger leaders. We identify skills, and we do this systematically. We work with many Inc. 5000 level companies. In fact, I think I've worked with more Inc. 5000 level companies than any other leadership development company out there. And so, if this is curious to you, the best move you can make is to go to our website, coreelevation.com. Look at the virtual conversations that are coming up. So these are not webinars. These are very unique things. And if you really are looking to engage with other CEOs that have been guests on the show before, maybe there's my clients, other Inc. 5000 levels executives, come into this conversation. The next one we have coming up is going to be about tough conversations. Me and Amanda, my wife, are writing a book called How to Have Tough Conversations. It is launching very soon, but we are going to have that conversation. And if you're curious about future virtual conversations, just go to coreelevation.com/virtual conversations. Check it out. You can sign up and you can engage with other CEOs, not just me, but other experts and CEOs to help you grow your business. Just go ahead and do that now. Now, here's the interview with Aaron. Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
I am fantastic. We're going to have a great interview. Tell us a little bit about your company, Firefly Solar.
Yeah, Firefly Solar, we incorporated back in 2016, so just coming up 8 years, based in South Carolina. We operate in 4 states now, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and most recently Virginia. And we're a vertically integrated solar company, meaning that we do everything from sales to install to post-install servicing where needed without the use of subcontractors and such. And we've got somewhere between 40 and 50 employees, I think, currently.
I'm kind of curious. I love the fact that we're going solar. I don't know why it's been such a slow adoption rate in the US, whereas other countries have been adopting at a much faster pace. What do you see for the future of solar over the next 3 years?
Good question. We have had some turbulent times with high interest rates over the last 12 to 18 months, and that's certainly slowed things down on the residential side. We also do commercial. Residential is our probably our biggest thing, but we do commercial as well, and commercial seems to be picking up in spite of high interest rates. So it's I'm not sure why they're obviously getting their financing in different ways, but over the next 3 years, I do think residential is going to slow somewhat, and then hopefully as interest rates level off, it will pick up again. And but I think there is a big focus on commercial now too. Some of the reasons I think that's starting to really get some traction is some of the things that came out in the Inflation Reduction Act. There's some extra benefits and credits and so on, if you know how to dig into it and find those. So I think that's what's driving the commercial growth right now.
Fantastic. Hopefully you guys are able to continue the pattern that you're on. I know you've made the ink list a couple of times. It gets harder and harder as your company grows. It's just a math problem.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about creating a place that employees would consider a great place to work or a best place to work. Where do you want to start? Because I've got a few questions in mind, but where do you think is the best starting place?
A great question. Where's a good place to start?
Do you want me to just start with my questions?
What's that?
I'll start with my questions.
Yeah, that's probably easier. Yeah.
What is the benefit of having a great place to work or a best place to work?
I think the benefit there's multiple benefits, both to employees and employer and to customers. At the end of the day, I think people spend a lot of their time at work. And you look at over the course of their life, a huge percentage of it is spent at work, working for a paycheck so they can do the things they want to do and buy the things they want to buy. If they're miserable in their job, they're going to ultimately be miserable in their life for the most part, and nobody wants that. But for the employer, it's great to have a great place to work because it helps with employee retention. You don't have to, every time somebody leaves and somebody new comes on, you've got to start the training process over again and so on. And that really affects productivity and everything else. So for the employer, it's great because you get the best people and you keep the best people. And for the customers, it's also great because if they're being if the customer is working with happy employees, they're ultimately going to deliver a better experience for the customer as well. So I think it's multifaceted. The benefits is all around.
I don't always ask this question, but I've asked it many times before. So I'll ask it with you. Never know what you're going to say, but I call it the impossible question because you need both of these things. But as a leader of a fast growth company, what's more important, your employees or your customers?
Employees.
Why?
Yeah. And I, as someone who's been doing this a few years now, and has learned a lot of lessons along the way, if you'd asked me this, some years ago, I might have said the customer, because I've always been very focused on the customer experience and creating a good customer experience. But I have learned over the years that if that's your starting point, then you're always sort of, pushing uphill, so to speak. If you start with happy employees and if you treat them right, you never have to think about the customers because they will take care of the customers for you. And so it's just by default, if they're happy and if they're taken care of and if they know that they're valued by management and by the ownership and so on, you never have to ask them to take care of the customers. They will just do it naturally.
Now, this impossible question that I asked Aaron is really well thought out. I've been doing this for years and I don't ask it to everyone, but I really want to highlight the fact that he said employers. Now, you may think he's wrong. I've been told I'm wrong before by very, respectful CEOs of really big businesses. But 93% of the Inc. 5000 that I've asked this question to, and it's hundreds of people at this point, have said it's employees, has to be employees. And they'll give us some version that, similar to what he said about retention or engagement or performance. But when you as a leader put the employees first, you create a structure and a system that they love to come to work to, good things happen. Now, I could go deeper into this because this is part of the work I do, but I just wanted to highlight that the research behind this that we've created firsthand with Inc. 5000 level companies. Back to Aaron. I've asked this question many, many times, and it really is a powerful, I think, frame for leaders to look at. Obviously, if I asked it from the perspective of company, the company is going to probably say, well, the company's here to take care of the customers. But I asked it from a perspective of leadership, and what you're saying, what I'm hearing is when leadership takes care of employees and employees feel engaged and happy with what they're doing, they're going to provide the level of service and work through the challenges that come up within normal business.
Yeah, exactly. I never have to ask an employee to do right by a customer. They just do it if I look after them. Yeah, I never have to spend any of my time thinking about customer experience and customer service because I know it's being taken care of already.
That's a great frame to look at this. I appreciate you diving into that, Aaron. When you think about creating a best place to work, there's all these awards out there. I don't even know if you guys have won awards. So first of all, have you won awards?
We've won awards a few times. Not necessarily for company culture or anything, but we've won the Best of the Upstate, which is a South Carolina award that goes on every year. It's pretty well recognized in this part of the state. We won that last year, and we're nominated again this year, and the votes all just came in, so we may or may not win again this year. I think we stand a good chance to, I guess. We did win. We used to be a Panasonic Elite Installer some years back, and we won the Panasonic Installer of the Year award a couple of years running for the Southeast region. And what else have we won? Something else. I'm forgetting something. There's one other in there, and I can't think what it is, but.
Well, what's really interesting is I'm not hearing an Inc. best place to work or other best place to work things, but still you find that having a best place to work where employees are engaged, they're committed to our success, they're all in, if you will, it gives you the kind of business that you probably like to come to work to every day.
Yeah, and I would hope so. Yeah. One of the things that I did early on to start trying, we were, we're still a small company, but when we were even smaller, there was never any need or requirement or anything to adding benefits such as health and retirement benefits. But I made a decision to do that way back. I mean, we've offered health and retirement benefits. I don't know for how long now, 5 years, something like that, maybe. Because I just wanted it to be, I wanted people to know that they're appreciated here, and we're going to take care of you. So that was one of the first things I implemented, and then culture kind of organically sort of comes from that. I think if employees know that they're valued from the top, they start to then bring their own value as well. And I think culture is then created from not just the top down, like a lot of people think it is. I think it's created the top down, bottom up, sides in. But it might be fair to say that it begins from the top down, and then from there it organically evolves.
What are the key elements of culture that you track or that you keep your eye on as your company's growing?
Kind of general morale. How do I answer that? I wouldn't say that we've got any sort of set KPIs that we monitor in that regard. Perhaps we should, or maybe as we grow and bring on HR people and so on, that's something we could implement. But I think just general morale, I try to keep an ear to the ground to know how people are feeling and what's going on. And I'm fairly sensitive to mood. If I walk into an office, I can sort of pick up on what the mood is and read between the lines. If I hear certain comments or certain remarks or whatever, I can like, okay, what's going on there? And the culture also can be different from one department to the next. We might have a great culture in our sales team, but the construction side of things might have low morale or whatever for whatever reason. So kind of got to manage all that together. But yeah, I mean, I guess to answer your question, I'm looking for morale and just making sure it's typically upbeat and people seem to be happy, and to monitor that, I'm just always listening and observing what's going on around the office and so on.
I was having a conversation with one of my clients the other day, and I know they spend a lot of their time at their desk doing email, doing spreadsheets, planning things. And he was like, I feel a little disconnected. And I was like, have you ever thought about getting out there and talking more to your team? And he's like, well, I do talk some. And I'm like, no, what does it really look like for you to be connected to your team? It sounds like you're really connected to them in different ways other than just the meetings that you have. What would you say is the best way you stay connected to the team and be able to assess that mood?
Yeah, so we have, and the way our offices are set up, we moved into a new property right on a year ago, and it had a house that we converted into offices, and then it has a warehouse that we converted some of the warehouse space into offices as well. So we're sort of in two different spaces. It's only a 1 minute walk kind of thing from one to the other, maybe 2 minute walk, but I don't necessarily have to go down to the warehouse and see the people working on operations stuff every day, but I do anyway, even if I've got nothing to talk about. So sometimes it's something I want to talk about. I could pick up the phone or do an email, but I want to go down there in person and just, show face. But even if I have nothing specific to talk about, I'll go down and hang out there for a little bit and chat with them and stuff and just sort of see how things are going.
Aaron's been talking about assessing the mood of your employees. And one of the best things I can remind you to do, because maybe you already know this, but as a leader, we talk about the work but we rarely talk about the people. And if you're, feeling that someone's mood is out of alignment, maybe they're being passive aggressive, maybe their attitude just sucks, whatever it is, don't let those moments pass you by. You can have quick conversations, you can schedule conversations, but my point behind this is ask questions. When you're assessing someone's mood, it is not a you should be thinking this way. That doesn't work very well. You should be asking questions to seek to understand. And that really is an incredible position, because if you're sensing these things, let that guide your questions, and then have the kind of conversation that will unlock someone. If they're feeling a little bit down, maybe if there's something personal in their life that's going on, and they'd love for you to ask about it. Maybe they don't want to tell you. That's fine too. But they'd love to know that you care about them as a person, and this will help you in that journey. Back to Aaron. This is sort of old school leadership. I don't call it this. I think Jim Collins named it management by walking around.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that term?
I'm not, but that's it. Yeah. Just poking my head into offices and seeing what's going on.
I've had a lot of very successful CEOs on the show before. I've had, in my network of people, and I have a cousin that's extremely successful with like 4 exits with his businesses. And many of them swear by this management by walking around, like literally connecting with people, no agenda. Like, I know it's harder in a virtual world, but it sounds like you've got most of the people are, in the offices in some way, or you're seeing them on a regular basis, and you're just taking time to connect with them, talk to them about, I would imagine, personal stuff and business. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't get to see all of them. Some of my people are completely remote, and some of them are just in very different hours, like my installers that are actually, on roofs installing solar panels. They come in a long time before me in the morning. And then when they tend to leave, they tend not to come into the house. So I don't see them a lot, but if I do see the trucks come in when I'm around and about, I'll go down and, just bump fists with them and that kind of thing. But yeah, just to show face. We also get together because the company is so sort of fragmented in terms of the way where everybody works and the hours everybody works. We don't often get together as a company, so I try to have a breakfast every quarter where I get the whole company together in one place, and it's always every quarter there's like there's new faces, like, well, who's that person? I haven't seen them before. And not me so much, but like the salespeople might not recognize an installer and vice versa. And so it's good. They don't necessarily mingle that much, but even just to sort of become or come to an event where they see, oh, this is much bigger than the 4 guys I share a truck with every day. It's I think that's a big part of me. And then me mingling with them in those kinds of events is good as well.
Aaron, I want to switch gears a little bit and not talk about the best place to work, but still connected to that, but talk about your leadership principles. Do you have clear principles that guide you as a leader to create a best place to work organization?
It kind of like comes back to where I mentioned no sort of defined KPIs. I wouldn't say I have clear principles so much, nothing that's sort of written down on my wall, but you've probably noticed the accent. I'm from New Zealand originally. This isn't a South Carolina accent. And in New Zealand, things are done pretty differently to the way they are in the US in terms of employment and different things like that. Employees tend to have a lot more rights. Every employee, whether it's flipping burgers at McDonald's or a CEO at a bank, every employee has to have an employee contract that's enforced. Every employee gets 4 weeks PTO a year. Every citizen gets healthcare as just a natural right. So, and every employee or every citizen, I guess, gets not a 401k, but it's like Social Security. I guess they get a Social Security. So every employee gets a pension that they can live on after they've retired. So I grew up in that culture, in that environment, and a lot of that has kind of guided a lot of the decisions I've made. Things are not as good here for the typical employee by default. PTO is kind of a luxury, and if you get it, you might get 2 weeks if you're lucky, kind of thing. Healthcare is not a default that anybody gets without paying for it. So I have tried to model the way I do things here, kind of with what I grew up with and what was normal back home, because I think it's better for people. So I am focused on people. I pay myself a very modest salary. I would love to make more money, and maybe one day on an exit I will. But I'm kind of, the finding good people and paying them well and taking care of them it comes before me, buying my fancy cars and that kind of thing, just because I'm like, this is what the company needs right now. And so I had to, so making those sacrifices up front to hopefully reap a benefit from it down the track. But I do put people first, my people first, and the company as a result of that. So again, it's not necessarily something that's written out and pinned on my wall. Here's my parameters of what being a good leader is. It's more just what I've grown up with and what I think is right and fair and treating people well.
I want to ask you one question just to fine tune that. I get that you're ethically stealing these principles from the New Zealand way of working with employees. What has been the one or two most impactful to the culture and that best place to work that you have modeled from New Zealand?
Probably health and PTO, I would say. And at PTO, I think everybody gets 2 weeks after their first year. And then with tenure, and I forget the exact benchmarks and so on, but with tenure, it goes up to 3 weeks and 4 weeks and so on. But that's kind of a big deal for most people because they wouldn't get that in a lot of other places, especially with the various positions that we have, maybe at an executive level, sure. But so I think that's a big deal for people. People like the PTO and then the health as well. Yeah.
Yeah, important things here. And I'm glad that you were able to have this conversation with us today to share your wisdom about creating a best place to work and the benefits that it has, not just for the employees, but the employers and the customers. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Wow, another great interview. One of the things I really liked about this is talking about the benefits to the employees, to the employer, the company, and to the customers. If you really focus on the employee experience and you create a best place to work, you have some incredible benefits across the board, not just to it feels good, but also the bottom line. And that really is about what we're here to do is grow our businesses so that we can continue to grow and impact more people. I love this interview, so I really hope you took notes. If there's any way we can help you through executive coaching, cultural transformation, leadership development in your company, please let us know. All you have to do is send me an email, gene@genehammett.com. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of growth think tank. As always, with courage, we'll see you next time.